friends. My name is Tanya, and this is She's At It Again. If you've never watched our channel, then welcome. Today is not a cooking demonstration, a video about food at all. It's about my new pressure canner, and I'm excited about that. This is a Presto 12-quart digital pressure canner. I am pumped, and not so much for the winter time, but in the summertime, if I ever get my hands on fresh produce, who wants to stand at a hot stove and pressure can? I've done that before, and I really would not like to do that again, just to be honest. But I can plug this thing in out in my sunroom. I can plug it in out on the front porch, in the garage, somewhere outside, and it does not fight my air conditioner. You know I'm big on that. My husband is in that business, so I'm all too keenly aware of how people go about letting their air conditioner fight heat on the inside of their house in the summertime. Now in the wintertime, this is great. It puts off a little bit of heat. It's not an immense amount, but in the summertime, it would be detrimental. So go with me as I stumble my way through these instructions. I've pressure canned, I want to say it was 4 or 5 pint jars of bone broth recently. I did some beef bone broth and I processed that, but I have some chicken bone broth that I actually did a video of yesterday. And I want to show you how the pressure canner works, because this could not, well, it could be simpler, but not much. But it does not, it doesn't tie up your stove. It sits on the countertop. Now they do recommend, I have this, they do recommend it sits on something protective like a cutting board or something like that. I actually took 2 wooden stakes the last time I used it and just placed them underneath it so it wouldn't be a good heat conductor between the pressure cooker and my countertop. We have quartz countertops, but this time I have like some coasters with cork on the bottom of them, and I have just a heavy duty, what do I want to call it? A griddle. I knew it wasn't a cookie pan, it's a griddle. But I have it sitting on top of that. So they have this quick start sheet right here, which is really, really helpful. So you kind of have to look in the book to figure out what your timing is on your pressure canning. But with this quick start method, that is really, really super helpful. That's what I did last time, or I probably wouldn't have gotten through it in the whole day. And just don't misunderstand. This is very simple. It's just that when I get the hang of it, it'll be like push a button, plug it in, push a button, put the water in it, and go. But for right now, I'm still stumbling my way through it. So for right now, it has a fill line in here at the 3-quart measure. So I have put 3 quarts of water in there. Now it's gonna do a process of heating up the water. So it says if you put really hot water in there, that helps that process go quicker. So that's what I've done, is put hot water in there. The next thing I'm gonna do is fill my jars that I'm gonna have the bone broth in halfway with water and then place them on the canning rack. So let's go put some hot water in our jars. I have my seals and my rings in this bowl, which has hot water in it too. Okay, just filling them halfway full, about like that. If you're wondering why I'm doing this, feeling the edge of them, I just want to make sure there's no chips or somehow malformations in the top of the jar, because if there is, it won't seal properly. And it's been a long time since I've canned in these particular jars. If you don't get enough water in them, they will float. Okay, the next step is to insert the power cord. That's a loud beep. That scared me really bad the first time I used this thing. I thought I'd done something wrong. All right. Press the control knob to select pressure can. So this is the control knob in the center. Rotate the control knob to set specific processing time for recipe and jar being used. Oh yeah, this is the time. And I'm supposed to process these for 25 minutes. So we're at 25 minutes. Okay, we've inserted the jar, so I'm just kind of a step ahead. Fill the jars halfway with water. That's what I just did. Remove the regulator from the canning cover. I've got that right there. Place the cover on the canner and lock it. So this looks like it'd be kind of persnickety to do, but it's really not. Set it down and turn it, and it's super easy to turn. Close this and push that little green thing back there. Confirm that the gasket is on the sensor. Which one's the sensor? Okay, yeah. The gasket being this. There's a little rubber gasket right there. Press the button with the arrow, and the warm light is going to come on. So everything is on your digital panel right here. It's just I am digitally challenged, just like with a phone. My phone is just a camera that I can make calls on. That's about as far as I go, and I know how to text and stuff like that. Okay, it says the jars warming up will take about 20 minutes. So at this time, you're going to do your food prep. Right now, I've had my bone broth actually simmering on kind of a warm setting all night long. So I'm going to remove the chicken drumsticks out of it, put those aside, and then I'll have the bone broth in my slow cooker. It's still warm enough where I can put it in the jars to process. It's not going to cool anything down. So we'll be back when that's done. Okay, our pressure canner has beeped twice, and this light comes on that says fill jars. So at this point, we need to open it up, take our jars over there, pour the water out, and start filling them with our bone broth. I like this little thing because in my mind, it makes me know that there's not really pressure built up in there, and I'm gonna start to take the lid off and it's gonna fly up and hit the ceiling. I've lived through the 60s, and I remember having my grandmother pressure cook, of course, over a huge flame on her gas stove, and walking in the kitchen, and she's just standing there with this look of bumfuzzlement on her face, and there's pinto beans on the ceiling because the gasket on the pressure cooker, I don't know, malfunctioned somehow, and all the pressure released, and the beans flew out onto the ceiling. All right, it's locked, so we turn it restriction. It says install or remove right here, and then you just lift it off. Set that aside. And it's nice because even though everything in here is hot and the metal is pretty warm, I mean, I could touch it without burning my hand, but I wouldn't want to hold on to it long. It's nice because there's so many plastic and rubber parts to it that you don't ever burn your hands. Okay, let's see if these, no, not cool enough to touch. All right, I'll lift these out with my jar lifter. And if you don't have one of these, pretty inexpensive, just run to the big store and get one. Those are super handy. And now we take and empty our jars out. Jar lifter is nice because you never really have to touch the jars with your hands pretty much for anything, so you get them filled up. And I don't know how many of these jars I'll be filling because I don't really have a measurement on my bone broth. I just know that my slow cooker isn't even quite halfway full because I reduced the bone broth quite a bit by cooking it so long. Which just means more flavor. Now take the giant ladle. Is that not huge? Put my funnel on there. And we also have to remember to leave headspace for any expansion. We don't want the glass to break. And the recommendations for headspace is on all the products that they give you the recipes for. But I just can't remember how much it was at this point. I want to say it was an inch to the top. I think that's what I left last time and it worked fine. Now when you put the seals and the bands on there, you only want to just tighten it, just finger tight. You don't want to crank it down. That's another big no-no. I've learned a lot from reading the instructions on this. Now you can strain your bone broth if you want. I don't mind the stuff that settles to the top. I never have. I mean, you can strain the fat out. If you put it in the refrigerator to store it, it's easy to pick off later on. You want to be sure you seat your seal on the jar to where it's centered. So many things to remember, just so many. But I'll tell you the main reason I like the machine, other than the fact that it doesn't heat up my house in the summertime because I can plug it in outside. I mean, you can take this thing anywhere. Even if you don't own a stove, you can still can because of this. But the nice thing about it is that my garage refrigerator, where I store all my jars of bone broth, it's not going to be taking up that space anymore. If I can put these on a shelf and they're shelf stable, then I have more room. It's almost like I just acquired another refrigerator out there, which to anybody that cooks a lot, you know how exciting that is. I think that Presto is the only canner that is, what did it say, FDA approved for canning. I think there's another one on the market and I can't remember what brand it is, but although people have given it good reviews and I haven't necessarily seen anything negative about it, this one is the only one approved for canning. Looks like I have about maybe a cup and a half left over in here, so that worked out well with this number of jars. Okay, let's go put them back in our canner. I just realized I didn't have my microphone attached to my camera, so I might be in trouble. All right, the instructions are to put the lid back on, obviously. That just locks into place so smooth. All right, close this little lever over here. Turn that, and it says to press the little arrow button and heat lights up. Ah, right there, just like that. Once the proper temperature is reached, vent and the number 10, digital 10, will light up on the screen. And the timer will begin to count down. So good thing there's a timer, because I'm going to hear that if I don't see the light. When venting time expires, the unit will start beeping, and then you put the regulator on, which is just this little gadget right here. This is the weighted thing that you see on most old-time pressure cookers. And you're going to put it right here on this. Easy peasy. Okay, we'll come back if there's something else I need to show you. Okay, I decided I'm just going to cut to the chase. It's pretty much anticlimactic. This whole process is so quick. I can leave, come back, I can see how much time is left on there. Okay, and you're probably asking, why aren't you putting more jars in there? This holds 5 quart jars, it holds 8 pint jars, or 7 wide mouth, or 10 half pints, or 13 wide mouth half pints. So you're looking at 5 quarts or 8 pints is what most people are gonna can. And for me, that's perfect, that's ideal. But even if you have 16 pints to do, it's going to take you 2 rounds. Your water's already heated up. It's not even going to take this long. So once the pressure canning starts, it doesn't make a lot of sound. It doesn't have steam going over. It doesn't do that like the old-time canners used to do. That's the exciting part. It's not so noisy. So anyway, this is a really, really cool product. It came in a huge box. I had it mailed to my front porch, and I was so excited when it came in. So I hope you have found this beneficial. I'll just do a quick video picture of these when they're done. Pretty self-explanatory. It's bone broth in jars, but these are going to go on the shelf in my pantry right through that door instead of going into a refrigerator and taking up space. So anyway, something to ponder if somebody's looking for a great gift for somebody who cooks and they don't have one of these. Man, would they be excited, as long as they have room to store it. That's the only downside. It's a pretty big storage area that it takes up. I mean, you can see how large this pot is, but I kept the box that mine goes in. I seal it back up in the plastic bag. I put it in the box and I store it in the garage between our vehicles. So it doesn't take up that much room for me. It has something else stacked on top of it. So anyway, hope this has been beneficial for you. And we look forward to sharing something again with you real soon. And stay tuned for the pictures of the jars of bone broth. I'll be so proud of those to show them to you. Anyway, if I find another fun toy, I'll let you know about it too. See ya.